Hey everyone, this is Rachel and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. If you hang out until after the video is through, there are always detailed shots of my current layout. Let's get going! Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Lift and Sketch with Christy and Rachel. Today, Christy and I will be doing this lift of the Kelsey Webster layout you just saw right before this. I saw this on one of the Facebook groups, and I think everyone and their sister was doing this one, so I put it away to do for a lift one of these months, and this month happens to be it. Now this month we're doing something slightly different. Christy is doing her 30 days of sketches, so she asked if we could do 2 lifts to give her a little break, and I was like, of course. So make sure you check out Christy's take on this lift. I will put the link in the description box below. I have a 6x6 paper pad. This particular layout kind of calls for them, and I'm using an older one from Amy Tangerine called Stitched. I did already start cutting some of the triangles simply because I wanted to try some different measurements, make sure I had the right one, and also it's pretty repetitive, so I would have cut it out anyway. All right, I've got one 4-ish by 4 photo. I didn't want to cut off either ears or tails, so I let it go a little longer than 4 by 4. I also have 4 colors in Heidi Swap Color Shine, and that's what I'm going to use in Kelsey's layout. She uses black. I'm going to go more for colors because there's a lot of gray in the Stitched. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead, get you guys put on fast forward and get going on this layout. So let's get going. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is pull in this black and white heart paper. That is actually from Hip Kit. I got it in a grab bag I picked up last year. And you'll note the background paper is very white, whereas that cardstock is more of a creamy white. I know a lot of people have an issue with mixing a creamier white with a pure white. I'm okay with it, and I'm going to do some tricks to help balance all of that out. I'm also going to, as you can see, use a piece of colored cardstock. I don't use colored cardstock a lot. I don't have a ton of it. I do end up going with this kind of muted teal color. So now I'm taking the pieces I have already cut into triangles, and what I did was I used my 6x6 paper pad and I cut squares at 2.5 inches and then just cut them in half. And I'll show you what I'm doing in a little bit because I do end up cutting, as you can see right here, another one. So I'm just using my trimmer to cut to 2.5 square, and then I just trim it in half, and that makes my little triangles. So I wanted a more graphic piece of pattern paper, so that's why I brought in that black and white tire track style thing. So I'm just kind of putting things together. Right now, my papers in that second row of triangles are going back and forth. I am going to do it so that they're all heading in the same direction. I'm just trying to get a mix. Right now, I feel I've got too much color going on, so I'm just adding a couple more black and white and gray and white. And as you can see, I've moved forward a bit in time through the magic of editing, and now what I'm going to do is back my photo with several layers of paper. That way I can get a better idea of what squares I can skip, so that way I'm not wasting paper that's just never going to be seen because it will be behind my photo. So I start off with a black and white little grid, and now I'm using this very deep coral word, but you're not going to be able to tell it's word, it's just going to be color because I'm trimming it, I'm making very close mats. You may have just heard Xanthi as she makes her voice heard on my video. And now I'm using this aqua color, watercolor. It's actually like a world, but same thing, a world map, a world. I'm doing it really close, tight matte, so you really don't see. I'd actually originally only planned to do 3, but then I realized that my bottom layer was the same color as that aqua cardstock, and there's already quite a bit of aqua in there, so I decided to go for a 4th layer, and that's when I'm going to choose this orangey coral
and white stripe, and I'm doing a bit of a bigger mat for this one. And now we're fine. We have all of our mats. We are good to go. And I'm going to start building the rest of my little triangles around that. So I'm trying to just figure out what works to my mind. I'm sure, I mean, the fact of the matter is, any pattern would have been fine. I'm just trying to figure out what looks good to me. So here's where, if you look over to the right to that teal colored triangle, that's not supposed to be there. That does not make a heart shape. That so I get to the point where I'm adding the bottom piece and I'm like, oh, I'm missing one. I guess I do need to cut one more because I'm a dork. So I end up cutting another one of the black and white. And so now I'm thinking, oh, good, now I have everything still. And then that's when I realized, oh, wait, that's where the extra one, that's where the one that I needed went. Okay. Well, I guess we just have an extra one. So I know I'm kind of going back and forth here about what should be done first and why I'm going in the order. So basically, what I'm trying to do is be economical with my time. I knew I was going to have to use some mixed media, but I knew from the original layout that the mixed media portion is cut down from the 12 by 12 background. And then the colored cardstock is trimmed out around the triangle pieces. So I didn't want to do the mixed media until I had uh, gotten a measurement of how big my heart was going to be altogether. Because what I'm doing here in Kelsey's layout, because I watched her video, she used a straw and ink to blow the black ink out. I'm just taking the wand and kind of smooshing it down. I'm looking more of a spattered look, whereas Kelsey's looks more like falling uh like color drips. That's the word I'm looking for. I couldn't think of the word. So I've now jumped ahead once again in time. There's a lot of repetitiveness in this particular layout, and I apologize. That was Xanthi getting down, shaking my tripod as she did it. So I put the misted section aside just to make sure it's completely dry. It really was almost dry by the time I finished, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to smoosh anything. And now I'm going ahead and just going to glue all these triangles down. I am going to skip ahead from this because the only change I make is I make sure all the triangles are going in the same direction in that second row. For some reason, at that point in time, that's what was important to me. I'm not going to freak out about it. It's just what was important to me at that time. I once again add an extra triangle because I'm a dork. Didn't need to, but this is what I'm going to end up with. And I like my balance of color. I like the balance of um, dark to light. I am going to use this camera piece of paper as the banner piece that's in the original layout. And I'm just going to use my triple banner punch from Stampin' Up! To cut the fishtail. So I'm happy with the way everything is looking, and I'm going to use my trimmer to trim out the colored cardstock around the triangle pieces. Now, unfortunately, this cardstock is dark enough that my little light doesn't really help. So you get to see Xanthi because I'm cutting tiny little slivers of paper, and those are her second favorite thing on my scrapbooking table. Her first favorite thing is actually the glue on my ATG. She adores that stuff. I'm actually surprised she's not going after my ATG. She normally does if I forget and lay it on my desk like that. So I'm going to trim out just one piece with my scissors and then the little indents for the heart. Oh, it's really turned out cute. This is one of those lifts or sketches. I don't know where originally Kelsey got it, whether she got it from a sketch or it just came out of her brain. Whatever floats her boat. It's just one of those where no matter what, it just doesn't, you can't help it. It ends up cute. It just really is a super cute layout. So I go ahead, add my ATG, and then I'm going to cut down the mixed media portion just a little bit as well as wow, words. I'm just going to repeat the same word as. I'm also going to go ahead and trim off the branding strip of my 12 by 12 piece and get that all glued down. So as you can see, I do have that more creamy piece, and then the cooler black and white as my background, and I'm going to use my embellishments to kind of blend the two together. I go ahead, get my photo and the banner down. There's a lot of pattern and a lot of color and a lot of texture going on in this page, so I'm going to keep my embellishments on the simple side. The first thing I'm going to do is pull out some acrylic pieces. I find if I've got a busy layout going on, but I want to add some embellishments, using a single color of embellishments really can add texture without adding a ton of busyness. So I'm going to use a whole bunch of white acrylic pieces. I've got that arrow, I've got different styles of stars, different styles of hearts, and I'm just going to stick with that. And then one other thing, and that is these little puffy circular stickers. In Kelsey's original layout, she used brads where the papers met. I'm just using these instead. I liked them better than the enamel dots for this particular instance, simply because they were flatter. That's it. So I'm going to use my art glitter clear glue to glue down my acrylics, but before I do that, I am going to go ahead and do my journaling, because when you add acrylics, it makes it uncomfortable to try to write. All right, so you may be wondering, what on earth am I doing here? So I house sat for my stepfather last year, and his dogs were always fascinated when I would stand at the peninsula and scrapbook. They're like, "You've been there for an hour and you haven't made any food. What is wrong with you?" So I ended up bringing in their bed, and they would just sit in their bed in the dining room and watch me scrapbook. So it was kind of funny. And they did this, like, I was there for a week, and they did this every time I would scrapbook. And considering I was in a house by myself with nobody else, I had a lot of time to scrapbook. So I did quite a few pages there, and they watched me the whole week. So I'm finished with my acrylic pieces, and I said that's all the embellishment I'm doing. And I'm just about to go ahead and add some mist when I realize, oh, sugar dude, you didn't put in your title. Duh. So I reach back over to my alphas and I pull out two different ones. I will be doing that in a second. Here we go. I pull out these cursive ones by Heidi Swamp, and I'm going to use those to spell the word Watcha. And then I have these wonky ones by Bella Boulevard, and I'm going to use the word doing. So my whole title is What You Doing? So unfortunately, neither one of those had a question mark. And I looked to see if I could make a question mark. Maybe there was a similar one that had a question mark, but no go. So I'm just going to leave it. In the long run, it's not going to bug me that much. So we're good to go. One last thing to do before we're finished, I'm just using some butter Heidi Swap Color Shine to add a little bit of spattering. Make sure you head on over, check out Christy's take on this lift. It is very cute, I've seen it, and flick me a thumbs up if you can. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.